The mortar, source of many a fun fail video. Used for comedic effect in The Simpsons.
Man on the range, change your trajectory!
16 brand new gas pumps. At last we can compete with the gas and gun.
Is there some way to get around?
We've watched them in excellent offensive and defensive use in the Pacific, in an awesome mortar duel. In truly devastating fashion, being subjected to them in 13 hours. And of course, improvised to devastating effect in Saving Private Ryan. So, from Station Forge, I snagged the Decimator file and printed up a couple of mortar squads. Easy enough to assemble, it's just 2 guys and a mortar. Sounds like a band name. But that leaves a lot of dead space.
Whew, look at all this nothing.
So, what to do with all this nothing? I have some Imperial barrels from the Mechanicus terrain, but wow, that's a little big. It's just a little too much of an eyesore. Maybe if I'd glued the team down in the back, I could have the barrel in front and they are set up using it as some emergency cover. Maybe if I make some sandbags would be a nice front to the base. Have to give that a go. I then noticed some nice crates in the light artillery file set. I dragged the boxes and the single mortar round that comes with the decimators into Lychee. Used rotate to get the shell to roughly the same angle as the box. And then moved it over into the open crate and then activated the crate and set scale to 50% for a start. I relocated the shell so that it's inside the rescaled crate. I then activated the shell and scaled it to, let's start off with 45%. Still a little on the loose side. Let's take it down to 44. Better, but 43, that's a great fit. I deleted this shell and just imported a fresh one rather than try and restore all the settings. Select the lid and scale it down to 43% and then make another copy of both of them. And then select the sealed boxes and make 3 copies. And then select the mortar round and make 5 copies. Excellent. And then just export to a thumb drive and off to the printer we go. Cleaned them off in alcohol, soaked them in warm water, removed the supports, took an X-Acto to the stubs and ran the lot through the curing machine. Okay, perfect. The mortar rounds fit snug in the case. And some of them I'm going to keep sealed. Maybe not have that stray one on top of the pile just waiting to roll off and cause havoc. 2 sealed stacked crates and 1 opened and supplying the crew for their barrage. Now the base looks populated, but not crowded or sparse. Right, a blast of Army Painter primer from every angle and leave it to dry. Then a layer of Abaddon black across the whole thing. Then onto my company colours. Thunderhawk blue layer. Getting a little dab on the end of my dry brush, wipe it around on the back of my thumb until it is almost gone, and then it's perfect to swipe around, catching the edges, the wrinkles, the webbing, the details. Then Dawnstone layer, a more frugal application on the same areas that got the Thunderhawk, highlighting edges and giving more emphasis to the details. Next up, Iron Hand steel base. This gets a dry brush all over the mortar and the crates to bring out the rivets, the edges, the reinforcements, the carrying handles, the supports, and of course the crew's helmets and backpacks and gas mask pipes. Then, some corn red base applied diligently to their pauldrons. These are a little thicker than the infantry ones, so you have to get your steady hand fired up to do the face that meets the clothing. But there is a dodge if it doesn't come out perfect. Once the red is dry, a generous application of Caroburg Crimson base. It's really watery, so it settles nicely around the edges and on the sections, and if the red touched the fabric, it conceals it nicely, giving you a shadow to blur the connection, so there's no fiddly going in and trying to correct the stray. And lastly, breaking out the moot green layer to very carefully colour in the digital readout pad on the control panel. Okay, here we are so far. Very nice. On to the base. A squirt of Elmer's and then paint it all around with a brush. I pulled it up a bit against the crates, so it's like the sand gathering up against it as the desert wind blows the sand about. And then sprinkle on some of my red rock sand gathered from Nevada. Once this is dry, there are a few thin patches, so a second application to make the colour consistent. And then, once this was dry, breaking out the Cadian flesh tone and grabbing the dry brush, a heavy brush around the feet, and then a lighter touch up the shins and some touches on the hems of the coats, because these guys spend more time ducking down and working lower to the sand, so I guess they're a bit more grubby. And then a few swamp tufts placed around the base for decoration and to make it look a little more lively. Finally, a quick blast of varnish from about a foot away from every angle to seal everything in and lock down the sand. And here we are, my Grim Guard Decimators. 2 heavy weapon mortar teams ready to pummel the enemies of the Imperium with barrages of indirect fire. Next up, I think it's Bullgrin time, which means different weapon loadouts, which means, yep,
Magnets, always with the magnets.